Philip Stoughton. I'm on the Global Electronics Association booth at Productronica 2025, and I'm joined by Jason Spera from Aegis. Jason, we've spoke many times. First of all, congratulations. You've changed the model up yet again. So, congratulations on the sale of the business. What I think is really interesting that we're seeing in the industry, and maybe this impacts your world post the deal, is that we're seeing companies finally realize that it's not just data we need to get out of silos, it's people we need to get out of silos. We need to create an environment where people can collaborate and connect in the same way we've been trying to connect data. You're doing some great collaborations. Arch Systems is a great example of that.
Yep.
Do you see that as the only way to get this digital dividend we expected with Industry 4.0 and we're now being promised with AI?
I think what's happened, and maybe it was almost by accident, I don't think there's any grand plan of it, is there was the rush for data. We have to fill data lakes, there was the big data obsession, and then there was that tipping point where I think I started noticing CIOs and IT groups started saying, well wait, what are we going to do with all this
What's
data?
all this for, yeah.
And then there was the obsession with analytics and so forth, but now, even with analytics, I think that what we see on the production lines is analytics isn't enough. The operators want to and need to be effectively told this is all this huge data. They don't care about that. They want to know, what do I do now? I need, it's the whole co-pilot, the assistant.
Yeah.
And AI is so brilliantly well suited to aggregate all that data and figure out what should this operator now do? So it was kind of a logical progression. And I think it had a bit of there was a scary period in there where the data was sort of,
just
what are we doing? What are we doing?
What's it there for? I think it's interesting, and I've spoken about not getting what I hoped we'd get out of Industry 4.0 numerous times, and probably people are tired of my view on that. But what we did get was data. We got data up to the surface. We got all our machines connected. And that is the foundation. And if we'd done that in a shorter time, it would have been great, but AI wouldn't have got here any earlier, so it wouldn't have been ready.
I think you're exactly right. Yeah.
Maybe there's a beauty in this timing, and AI is going to be the thing that tips us through. What I've also seen, which I think has been fascinating, as we've moved into this AI era of our industrial and digital transformation, is the arrival of some Stanford graduates and some younger blood and some new ideas in the industry. And the guys from Arch are an example. The guys from Luminovo are also out of Stanford. I don't know where the Cofactor guys came from. I think one of them was from Stanford as well. So we're kind of seeing that Silicon Valley impact. Instrumental would be another interesting example of a company that's come out of the Valley. All VC funded companies. They're doing some exciting stuff, and by partnering with companies like you that know the industry inside out and have been actually on the lines for a long, long time, I think there's a mix there that can be really powerful. How do you see that, and how well is that partnership with Andrew and the team at Arch working?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, it's a great company. Their tech is amazing, and they're good people. And we've had a great relationship with them, and we have our the deployments of the ARIA system they're going well around the world. That's really gratifying. But I think it's a great synergy because any AI system depends upon contextualized data. We're constantly talking about contextualized data, but it is really important. And the Arch system can do so much more when it has access to some of the factory logic's data. So that's the natural synergy. And we're in these discussions with customers, and I have to admit sometimes it's not immediately apparent to them. But then shortly they'll say, oh yeah, that is true. There's all these extra data points that the MES system has that Arch would otherwise have trouble maybe getting access to. And look at what they can do when they have that. It goes back to what you said, is that it's that critical mass of data that is the engine, the foundation of any hope of getting AI to do what you need it to do.
Yeah. So when you step back and you look at that AI progression, the first thing we saw with AI was people using it to maybe program an inspection machine, to maybe debug a program, do things like that, and that's kind of the AI inside model.
Yeah.
Then we started to see these closed loops where maybe the SPI is informing the printer and making some changes, or the pre-reflow AOI would be changing an offset on the placement head or something to improve quality there. I call that adjacent AI, just because I made the term up and I like it.
It is a good term, Phil.
It is a good term. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate you on that one. But I think now we need something that's much more overarching, and I think this idea of agentic is really interesting. I particularly like this idea of persona-based agentic, where you can put different agents in different spaces and then start to ask them to talk to each other. It feels like the way you would have built an old school engineering team. So it feels natural and contextual in the way we're doing it. Is that how you see it? And it feels like we've got companies that are good at each part of that should work together to do that.
Yeah, it is. I do. I think what's happening is there's so much really interesting tech, and AI is moving so quickly that there's the proliferation of all these interesting approaches with almost not knowing exactly how it'll be applied yet.
Yeah.
So I think there'll probably be a huge proliferation of point ways of addressing things, and then it will probably start consolidating because that's what naturally happens.
Yeah.
These individual tools then become platform solutions. And that's what we're looking forward to, where it becomes more of a something that can be invoked by a platform like ours in a broad way.
Yeah.
And you do need specialists in AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you need specialists in AI, but you also need specialists in manufacturing. That's where you kind of bridge that gap. What I found with the EMS leadership I spoke to at Apex, and I found this with other conversations throughout the year, particularly this year, and I'm sure it'll bleed into next year, is this desire to find trusted partners with respect to AI.
Yes.
People that aren't just trying to sell you a little AI solution that is maybe a little bit machine-led and a little bit narrow. People that are looking at the big picture, but more importantly, people that are prepared to collaborate and that I can say, okay, I've worked with Aegis for a long time, Factory Logics works for me, I'm really pleased with the outcomes I'm getting with that. Maybe they're the people to help me along the journey to AI, because I know they're not just doing their own thing, they're working with people in that space. Do you get that from your customers? Is that what they're looking for? They don't know what they're going to get from it, but they're looking for how to get there.
I do, and I can share. Recently, I've been in some meetings with executives, both prospective customers and customers, and there does seem to be a bit of a change occurring where the top of the organization is a little weary of the hype.
Yeah.
They feel, I don't know where the value is. I hear all this hype, and they're asking effectively, well, what can you tell us about what would useful AI be? There's there's now a hunger for, I'm kind of past it's going to magically do this and magically,
what problems they're going to solve and where's it going to return on investment?
Exactly, and those are good conversations because I think it gets away from maybe the bit of the nonsense edge of things and more into how can this and Arch is a perfect example of that. Refining and perfecting downtime reason codes. When you put that phrase out there, it's probably not going to make a headline, but it is
it's not an advertising slogan, is it? But it's powerful.
But it's very useful. It's incredibly useful, and that is now resonating when I talk to executives. It's like, yes, that actually having proper OEE is valuable. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I see that, and I absolutely agree. I'm an avid listener to Andrew's podcast, so I wouldn't normally plug someone else's podcast on mine, but I am definitely a fanboy on that one, and that's the impression I get from so many of the people that he talks to on there. They have a very specific problem. They have a narrow focus on that solution, and they're looking at where they can pull the data from and where they can use AI to solve that specific problem. And those people that are on there are generally, leadership of some of the larger EMS companies. So their opinions are really valid. So I just want to roll forward to where you are now, post transaction. How does that change the way you operate personally as a leader in the business? What does it mean in terms of your plans for now in 2026?
Well, it's been really exciting. We're only 90 days in, but the speed at which we're moving now, for obvious reasons, it's really exciting. And what I think about most is what it means for our customers and our team. We're hiring a lot, and we're also looking at a product capability extension that we likely would have taken quite a bit more time to do otherwise. So from that perspective, it's just been great.
It's a massive accelerant.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's one of the huge things you get with deeper pockets. You can move faster, and it's kind of that Silicon Valley approach that, let's get this done. And I think where you are in this tipping point in the industry, where we are moving from Industry 4.0 to maybe a more artificial intelligence-led ecosystem, you do really need to move fast. You look at the AI world; they're building ridiculous amounts of infrastructure, raising incredible amounts of capital. And when you ask them why, they're not really sure why, but they know it's important. And I spoke to Sean DeBravac about it recently, chief economist at the Global Electronics Association. And he likened it to when we were putting fiber in the ground.
Yeah.
A lot of that fiber was dark for a long time, and it felt like we put too much in. We are tapped out now, and that's going to be the case with data. So, yeah, I think you're at a exciting inflection point, and having maybe additional opportunities and additional speed and agility will be exciting for you.
And it's been really exciting for the whole organization.
Yeah. I imagine for the team, it's like adjustment and
a
new
little
world,
fear,
let's move.
and then it's like, oh wow, this is great. So
good stuff. Well, fantastic to talk to you, Jason. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And,